Imagine crawling through absolute darkness. The tunnel walls press against your shoulders. The air reeks of decay. Somewhere ahead, an enemy waits in silence. One wrong move triggers a booby trap. There's no room to turn around. Before we descend into one of warfare's most terrifying chapters, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. This story demands to be remembered. By 1965, American forces in Vietnam faced a phenomenon that defied conventional military doctrine. Entire companies of enemy fighters vanished into thin air. Battles erupted from nowhere, then ceased just as suddenly. The enemy seemed to materialize from the earth itself. They weren't wrong. Beneath the villages, rice paddies, and jungles of South Vietnam lay a secret that would redefine guerrilla warfare. Over 250 kilometers of hand-dug tunnels formed an underground city where thousands lived, fought, and died in near-total darkness. The Cu Chi tunnels and their connected networks represented 20 years of back-breaking labor. Beginning in the late 1940s during resistance against French colonial forces, Vietnamese fighters carved these passages using tools that would seem laughable by modern standards: small shovels, tin bowls, and woven baskets. What started as simple hiding spots evolved into a sophisticated military infrastructure that stretched from the outskirts of Saigon to the Cambodian border. The ingenuity of these underground systems bordered on the remarkable. Engineers designed multi-level networks descending over 30 feet below the surface, with some complexes featuring 4 distinct levels. The deepest sections could withstand bombing runs that left the jungle above cratered and burning. Every entrance was a masterpiece of concealment. Trapdoors measured barely 2 feet across, constructed from wood and camouflaged with leaves, dirt, and vegetation. Some were placed in cooking areas beneath heavy pots, others hidden underwater along riverbanks, and many more disguised in animal pens where the smell discouraged thorough searches. The tunnels themselves averaged less than 3 feet in height and width, barely enough space for a slender person to crawl through. This cramped design was intentional. It forced invaders to move slowly, while defenders maintained every advantage. Sharp turns prevented blast waves from explosives from traveling far, while also creating ambush points where a single fighter could hold off multiple attackers. Underground chambers served every function of normal life. Sleeping quarters, though cramped, housed entire families. Storage rooms held rice, weapons, and ammunition in carefully rationed quantities. Hospitals operated by candlelight, performing surgeries without anesthesia as bombs shook dirt from the ceiling. Kitchens used specially designed vents that dispersed smoke through multiple exit points, preventing American aerial observers from pinpointing locations. The ventilation system alone demonstrated remarkable engineering. Air shafts extended to the surface, their openings disguised as termite mounds or hidden in thick brush. Some vents were treated with pepper and other strong-smelling substances to confuse the tracker dogs that American units increasingly relied upon. Every shovelful of dirt posed a security risk. Workers hauled excavated soil away from tunnel sites, dumping it into bomb craters or rivers, or spreading it thinly across the jungle floor. This painstaking attention to detail kept the tunnel networks hidden for years, even as American bases were constructed directly above active underground complexes. Surviving in these tunnels tested human endurance beyond imagination. Oxygen levels dropped dangerously low in sealed sections. The humidity approached 100%, causing clothes to rot and wounds to fester. Malaria-carrying mosquitoes bred in standing water. Centipedes, scorpions, and rats, some as large as cats, shared the cramped spaces with their human inhabitants. Food scarcity was constant. Rations often consisted of a handful of rice and whatever could be scavenged from the jungle above. Malnutrition weakened fighters and civilians alike. Some tunnel dwellers went months without seeing sunlight, emerging only at night to tend crops or engage in military operations. Yet thousands endured this existence for years. Entire families grew up knowing the tunnels as home. This underground population formed the backbone of Viet Cong operations in the south, providing intelligence, support, and fighters for the resistance. American forces first stumbled upon these tunnel networks almost by accident. In January 1966, Sergeant Stuart Green of the Australian Army sat down to rest after a firefight near Saigon. A sharp pain made him jump. He'd sat on a nail protruding from a concealed trapdoor. The discovery changed everything. What seemed like a small entrance opened into a vast complex. Green descended into the darkness and spotted 30 enemy fighters hiding just feet below the battlefield. When the Australians attempted to force them out with tear gas and smoke grenades, the ventilation systems dispersed the chemicals harmlessly. Explosives proved equally ineffective due to the tunnel's design. American commanders realized they faced a problem that bombing campaigns and artillery couldn't solve. The enemy literally lived beneath their feet, surfacing to attack, then disappearing before reinforcements arrived. Some tunnel entrances were discovered inside the perimeter of American fire bases, explaining how sappers infiltrated supposedly secure areas. Initial attempts to clear the tunnels failed spectacularly. Trained dogs refused to enter after the first few were killed by booby traps. Remote-controlled robots didn't exist. Chemical weapons like CS gas dispersed through the ventilation systems without reaching the deep chambers. Even when sections were destroyed, new tunnels were dug around the damaged areas within days. The grim conclusion became unavoidable. Someone would have to go in. The call went out for volunteers who met specific criteria: small stature, fearless temperament, and perhaps a touch of insanity. The men who answered became known as tunnel rats, American, Australian, and New Zealand soldiers who willingly crawled into hell armed with little more than a pistol, a flashlight, and their wits. Height and weight restrictions were strict. Men over 5 feet 7 inches or weighing more than 140 pounds simply couldn't navigate the tightest passages. Even qualified volunteers found themselves scraping through spaces barely wider than their shoulders, sometimes crawling for hours through the oppressive darkness. The standard M16 rifle proved useless in the confined spaces, too long to maneuver and prone to jamming in the dirt and humidity. Tunnel rats instead carried .45 caliber pistols or smaller .38 revolvers. Some soldiers requested weapons from home, preferring reliability over stopping power. Many fashioned homemade suppressors to reduce the deafening muzzle blast in enclosed spaces, though firing any weapon underground often resulted in temporary or permanent hearing loss. The flashlight presented a terrible dilemma. Using it revealed your position to any enemy waiting ahead. Not using it meant feeling your way through absolute darkness, vulnerable to booby traps and ambushes. Experienced tunnel rats developed extraordinary senses of hearing and smell, detecting the presence of others by breath sounds or body odor. Some claimed they could sense body heat or feel the subtle air currents that indicated nearby movement. Standard procedure involved entering in pairs when possible, with the second man staying several meters back. If a trap killed the point man, his partner might survive to pull the body out. Even this precaution couldn't prevent the horrific casualties these soldiers suffered. Every inch of tunnel space was potentially lethal. Booby traps represented the Viet Cong's answer to American technological superiority. Simple, cheap, and devastatingly effective. Punji stakes lined concealed pits in the tunnel floors. These sharpened bamboo spikes, often smeared with human waste to cause infection, impaled anyone who fell through the false flooring. Some traps were designed to pivot, driving stakes through a victim's feet when stepped on, while others dropped from above as soldiers passed beneath. Explosive traps ranged from crude grenades rigged to tripwires to more sophisticated command-detonated charges. False walls concealed fighting positions where enemy soldiers waited in alcoves, allowing tunnel rats to pass before attacking from behind. Some sections of tunnel dead-ended abruptly. If you reached the end, you'd miss the hidden side passage and would be shot in the back while trying to retreat. Water traps, called dip traps or gooseneck passages, required soldiers to submerge completely and swim through flooded sections with no guarantee of an air pocket on the other side. These served both as barriers to gas attacks and as excellent ambush points. Anyone surfacing on the far side emerged disoriented and helpless. Psychological traps proved equally effective. Boxes of scorpions, centipedes, or venomous snakes were rigged to spill onto intruders. Poisonous vipers, starved and tied to ceiling beams, struck at faces in the darkness. The terror of these encounters sometimes proved more debilitating than physical wounds. The enemy themselves were the deadliest obstacle. Viet Cong tunnel defenders knew every inch of their underground terrain. They moved in complete darkness, communicated silently, and could disappear into hidden chambers that invaders never found. Many carried knives or garrots, preferring silent kills that wouldn't alert others to their presence. Hand-to-hand combat in these spaces defied description. Men grappled blindly in tunnels too narrow to throw a punch, fighting with knives, bare hands, and teeth. The wet, muddy surfaces gave uncertain footing. The darkness made it impossible to distinguish friend from enemy. Tunnel rats learned to kill quickly and quietly, knowing hesitation meant death. One Marine corporal later recounted his first kill in a tunnel. He detected another man's breath in the darkness, felt hands reaching for his throat, and crushed his enemy's windpipe before either man saw the other's face. This was tunnel warfare, primal, intimate, and absolutely terrifying. Casualty rates among tunnel rats reached approximately 33%. 1 in 3 men who entered these underground systems was killed or seriously wounded. This figure doesn't account for the psychological trauma that affected nearly all survivors. The physical injuries were horrific. Punji stakes through feet and legs, sometimes through torsos and throats. Shrapnel wounds from explosives in confined spaces, knife wounds from close combat, snake bites delivering neurotoxins that caused agonizing deaths. Men who survived often carried permanent disabilities, lost limbs, destroyed hearing, chronic infections from septic wounds. The psychological damage ran deeper. Many tunnel rats developed claustrophobia that persisted decades after the war. Nightmares of suffocating in darkness, of being buried alive, haunted their sleep. Some couldn't enter elevators or small rooms without experiencing panic attacks. The intimate nature of tunnel combat, killing men you couldn't see but could smell, hear, and touch, left scars that no metal could address. Yet these soldiers volunteered repeatedly, entering tunnel after tunnel, despite knowing the odds. Their motivations varied. Some sought revenge for fallen friends, others felt duty-bound to protect their units, many simply accepted it as their job. Whatever drove them, their courage was undeniable. The Viet Cong fighters faced equal if not greater hardships. Living underground for months or years, they endured starvation, disease, and the constant threat of burial under collapsed tunnels. Many suffered from malnutrition-related illnesses and respiratory problems from breathing stale, contaminated air. Women gave birth in the tunnels, and children grew up never seeing daylight. The psychological toll of this existence is difficult to quantify, though post-war interviews reveal widespread trauma among survivors. The civilian casualties mounted as American forces, frustrated by the invisible enemy, sometimes destroyed entire villages suspected of harboring tunnel entrances. The line between combatant and civilian blurred. Villagers who seemed friendly during the day might indeed be Viet Cong fighters at night, while others were simply people trying to survive between two armies. By 1973, when American forces withdrew from Vietnam, the tunnel networks had proven their strategic value. They enabled a technologically inferior force to withstand the most powerful military on Earth. The tunnels provided shelter from aerial bombardment, storage for supplies moving down the Ho Chi Minh Trail, and bases for operations throughout South Vietnam. After the fall of Saigon in 1975, some tunnels were preserved as historical sites. Today, portions of the Cu Chi Tunnel complex near Ho Chi Minh City are open to tourists, though these sections have been widened to accommodate Western visitors. Even enlarged, they remain claustrophobic and unsettling. The original passages remain too small for most tourists to navigate. The military lessons learned in Vietnam's tunnels influenced modern urban and subterranean warfare doctrine. Special operations forces now train specifically for tunnel and underground combat. Detection technologies have improved, but the fundamental challenge remains. No technology fully replaces human beings willing to enter hostile underground environments. Perhaps more important than the tactical lessons is the human story these tunnels represent. They stand as testament to both the ingenuity and suffering of war. The Vietnamese civilians and fighters who spent years underground, the tunnel rats who volunteered to hunt them, and the countless casualties on both sides, soldiers and civilians alike, whose sacrifices demand our remembrance. Their stories deserve to be told, remembered, and passed on to generations who hopefully will never experience such horrors themselves. If this story moved you, show your support. Hit that like button. It helps this content reach others who need to hear these histories. Share this video with anyone interested in military history or Vietnam War stories. Drop a comment below telling us what aspect of tunnel warfare surprised you most, or share stories from veterans you know. And if you haven't already, subscribe and hit that notification bell. We bring you forgotten chapters of history every week, stories that deserve to be remembered. These soldiers and civilians, both those who died and those who survived, gave everything. The least we can do is remember their sacrifice. Until next time, honor the past and learn from it.